We are introducing creative thinking, inclusive of problem finding or opportunity finding thinking from as early as age 4.
If we have intrapreneurs and we have entrepreneurs, can we have interpreneurs?
So there is lots of interest in entrepreneurship coming from the female side of academia. And
one of the ways to get more Emeritus to work in private sector is actually to create jobs for themselves through entrepreneurship.
The moment we institutionalize entrepreneurship, it becomes boring.
Everybody is born an entrepreneur.
Who believes that you're either born an entrepreneur or not? Okay, we've got a minority of 2 sort of original theory entrepreneurs, 3. And so I'm assuming everyone who didn't put up their hands believes that you can train yourself into entrepreneurship. Yeah. Fantastic. Okay, well, now we're going to go to our panel and see if we all agree, because this might be a slightly simplified panel if we all do. And so, Karl, if I may, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself and then speak for 3 minutes without repetition, deviation, or anything else bad.
Thank you. Right, 3 minutes starts now. Welcome, nice to meet you. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you for the invitation. I'm Karl, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm also in my spare time doing my PhD on the theory that entrepreneurs are an undiagnosed spectrum disorder, that we are weird. My master's degree came to the conclusion that 3% of the population are born as entrepreneurs. Let me just see if you think I'm weird. I got up at 3 o'clock this morning, having gone to bed at 11 o'clock last night. 4 hours sleep is my norm. I'm currently running 6 companies. I'm preparing for an IPO with one of them. I'm doing a reverse SPAC in the States on another company. I've created and sold 6 companies. I've taken 2 to the public market. I'm the lead singer in a rock band. I've got 2 albums that are on Spotify and iTunes. On Friday, we're laying down the first track of the 3rd album. And my evenings are spent talking to people like this. How am I doing on time? I moved here 12 years ago to start the first biofuels business in the Middle East. So I run a business that for the last 12 years has been producing net zero fuel in the fossil fuel capital of the world. And everybody thought I was mad. It turns out I'm not mad. I'm just very persistent. So I think I'm the example that we're born, because you couldn't train people to be this weird.
Fantastic. What an opening. Right. Who would like to go next? Nicola?
yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Adil, for hosting us. I would try to take a different spin to the question. I would say that entrepreneurship in general is an elite sport. So in every elite sport, there are natural born athletes. Maybe we have one on our left, but also you can teach it. And institutionally, I'm the executive director of Applied Research, Innovation, and Entrepreneurship at higher colleges of technology, which is one of the biggest higher education institutions in this country. We do believe that the role of higher education is not just to produce knowledge, is not just to produce skills for the industry or for the society, but is to empower future entrepreneurs. And this is what we've been doing in the last couple of years. We put in place a startup development program, which has been extremely prolific. We launched more than 130 startups in a couple of years, empowered more than 2,000 entrepreneurs. Again, most of them will fail. We know that entrepreneurship is not, on average, a very successful business, but at the same time is a great experience. So we want more and more of the students being exposed to entrepreneurship. We want them to feel the thrill of being entrepreneurs. We want to fail. We want to learn from their failures, and that will create more successful business people, will create a more successful corporate employees or corporate managers, and the experience itself will be very valuable. What I would like also to add is that entrepreneurship is not taught. So the classroom probably is not the best place to teach or to create entrepreneurs. We separate what we do from the pure academic experience. We are coaching students in order to empower them with their own startups, and we separate very radically what is taught in the classroom, which is marketing, finance, you name it, from what we are doing with them in our entrepreneurial program, which is really empowering them in becoming future business men and businesswomen. So I would say that this is all from my side.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for invitation. My name is Aidana, and I'm working at Sandooq Watan, which is a semi-government initiative where we are trying to tackle employment of Emiratis in the private sector, which one of the ways to get more Emiratis to work in private sector is actually to create jobs for themselves through entrepreneurship. So we are funding startups that are founded by locals, and also working with HCT now to build a hub where every student in UAE will have access to entrepreneurship education, but how Nicola explained, which is not actually classroom taught programs. So this leads to my answer that entrepreneurship can be instilled. And I do believe there are people who are born with it who can actually see entrepreneurial solutions around them. But as if everyone knew about lean entrepreneurship methods and was trained to see these entrepreneurial solutions, then entrepreneurship, everyone can be an entrepreneur.
Hello, my name is Miras. I'm an entrepreneur. I started my last company when I was senior at college, and I sold it in 18 months. Right now, I'm DBA associate, and the question is, are entrepreneurs born or made? For which short answer, I believe is they are born. However, I believe that everybody is born an entrepreneur. However, the society, the culture, sometimes education, it shapes us and destroys the spirit of entrepreneurship in a lot of people. The reason for that is, I believe, the entrepreneurs I've seen, they have been educated, uneducated, from poor background, rich background. They from having PhDs, uneducated people, and all of these people have been doing great businesses, changing the world, changing lives. So I believe that a lot of entrepreneurship is about nurturing. So if we change the paradigm, the question, not from how can we make someone who is not an entrepreneur, make him an entrepreneur, but instead ask, how can we nurture, grow a seed that's already there, and how to make this person successful? That's the way how we can create generation of entrepreneurs. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Adil, for the invite. Guys, I'm Bjorn. I'm originally from the Netherlands. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've built multiple companies, majority of which in emerging markets. So last 10 years I spent in Indonesia, before that Pakistan, Bangladesh, China. I have a big passion for actually creating stuff from scratch. I love building companies, so we're in consumer goods, in pharmaceuticals, in nutraceuticals, in e-commerce. And I always get a real big joy of actually working with very young management teams, which I often snatch from school, from university, when they're just finished, and you work with them for years and years, and afterwards they take over the business, or at least they take over the management of the business. And that's why I thought tonight's topics is a very interesting one. Do I lean more towards born or nurture? I think neither of them. I think a lot of entrepreneurs are subject to the circumstances in which they grow up. I've seen many really good entrepreneurs coming from families which were not privileged at all. I believe the hunger in those people is much more. I've worked a lot with people who are privileged, and the results were always much less. So if you ask me, can you nurture? Yes, definitely. Born, yeah, maybe But I think circumstances in which one grows up, a family, how much support, what is the feeling of risk taking that your parents give you? What kind of people are you surround yourself with? I think one of the famous phrases was from Warren Buffett, who said, like, you become the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. So if you surround yourself with people who love entrepreneurship, who are relatively, I won't say entrepreneurs are per se risk takers. For example, I'm also risk averse from time to time. It's more calculative risk versus like being a huge risk taker per se. So I think it's like I said, it's a lot of entrepreneurs are the subject of basically their circumstances. Where I look at when I get people in the teams is always 2 things. So number 1 is grit, where perseverance meets passion. It's a very important one. And then secondly, above average intelligence, because if you combine both, experience is not so relevant anymore. Smart guys who can run like the wind, who have something to prove, in my experience, go very far. So that's my my take on the subject, and I'm going to give the word to Adil.
Thank you. My answer will be a little bit longer than them. Okay. See, 90% of businesses fail within the first 3 years. So failure is actually the norm. Success is the exception. And that's not what you are trained to do, especially at school. Because at school, they are preparing you to be the best employee. If you make a mistake, you are hit or you are punished, and you have bad marks, and you are the lousiest man, and your future is dead because you made mistakes. But if 90% of companies statistically in the last 200 years fail within the first 3 years, isn't failure and the need to handle failure is more important than the need to handle success? You have to fail 9 times before you succeed on average. That's statistics. You understand me? But then who does that? Only the crazy. That's what you call the ones that are born entrepreneurs, because they are just not in their right mind, not according to society. Who is a prime male in society? A prime male that has a stable job, that can open a house and is the right guy to get married, and that's the good guy. Not the guy that failed 3 times and he's still trying, because this is not how society is built. But then change that. If you know that statistics and you deal with the statistics and you know how to fail fast and efficient, then success becomes statistics. And there are models today that can help us do that. Like, for example, I'm growing big into venture studios, because venture studios is not about trying people. It's about growing a core team that works on multiple ventures at the same time, having a process within them to learn from mistakes. And statistically speaking, one out of 3 or 4 company should work within 18 to 24 months. So it is now a process. It's now evolving to going beyond genetics and context to becoming a process of statistics, dealing with statistics. If you throw the ball so many times, statistically, one of them will hit the thing. Same can go in my theory now, statistically can happen in venture studios, in certain business models. So I'm taking the craziness and making a process out of it. That crazy guy that keeps failing and he continues to stand is now becoming a process. You are designed as a team. This is why I believe in teams. I don't believe in Superman or Superwoman entrepreneurship. I hate that tag, because as if they do it on their own, as if the 20 other people around didn't play the major role of that business succeeding. This is the thing I hate about role models. When I'm asked, who's your role model? My role model is science, research. There's nobody specific, because it's unfair to them and me. They have lived a context and a life story that I can't replicate. where I am today and in my time and the challenges that I have to face. So if we are able to resort to research and science, identify problems and opportunities, be able to grow teams that know how to fail fast and efficient, statistically, they will land onto something good in time, whereby I still have money. So this is the way I believe venture building, which is what many would call entrepreneurship, could actually evolve to become a factory, a process. You do it so many times, you have the right skills, they should be statistically able to hit a success. Now, what's the definition of success? That's a different question to ask. But then, if it is about them being able to feed themselves and make economic impact onto themselves and their society and enhance people's living, then yeah, I think that is possible, in my opinion. Still a theory. I'm working on it, and I would appreciate a lot of help from a lot of people. So thank you very much.
I'll just sit with this microphone. Thank you. So some fascinating views that we've heard there in terms of, are we made or are we born? 3% weird, I think, is where we started with Karl. But also, I love this idea of born athletes. Some people are born athletes, but we can all get better at certain things. We had another view on being trained, not taught. But actually also the importance of circumstances, particularly scarcity. A very sort of the opposite end of the view that everyone is an entrepreneur and actually somehow we can beat it out of ourselves as well. So I'm pleased to say we've got a spectrum of views here. One of the themes that I heard us all talk about was failure. And Dr. Adil picked up on that with one approach in terms of venture studios. But I just wanted to ask those on the panel, and particularly actually Karl, I'm going to pick on you again first. How does being 3% weird help you deal with failure or some summation of that?
So I don't mean to be rude, but I disagree with your theory. And more interestingly, I think we could have a very interesting debate about it. So my feet are very firmly on the ground. I don't believe I'm a superstar. I just know that I'm weird. And if I've started 20 or 30 companies in my life, I might have had 2 failures. So I'm exactly the other way around. And it's not because I'm a superstar. It's because I'm an entrepreneur. It's because when things are not going well in a venture, I don't fail. I just double down. I get up at 2 o'clock in the morning rather than 3 o'clock in the morning. I work harder. I get better commitment out of my people. I have people wanting to join my company. The last business I started as a group of companies, I persuaded 4 people to join my company on a phone call. I called them up and I said, I'm starting a new business. They said, what's it going to do? I said, I don't know. I said, have you got a job? They said, yes, I've got a mortgage, I've got a job, I've got a car. I said, good, quit. 4 of them said yes. They joined the business because I asked them. Okay, I cheated. I'd worked with them before. But to quit a normal salaried job, to join somebody who has one statement, I'm going to save the planet. Okay, it's a pretty big ambition. It's pretty good. But people, if you get them in the right frame of mind, they don't think about failing. I had a conversation with somebody recently that we were interviewing for a position, senior management position in our business. And he said, I really want to be part of a high performance team. I said, you're dumb. Forget the interview. There's nobody in my company that wants to be in part of a high performance team. We want to be the best team on the planet. Not a high performance team. We want to be the high performance team. And that is all about motivation, but it's all about mentality. And that I don't believe you can teach. I love your idea. I'd never thought about that. You're worth a whole chapter in my PhD, because I hadn't thought about that we're all born as entrepreneurs and somehow we get it beaten out of us by whether it's education or by whether it's our parents or by whether it's society. One of the great challenges that you both are facing here, trying to encourage entrepreneurism in this culture, is risk. One of my friends here, Emirati friend, he wanted to start a new business. And I said to him, you've really got to do it. It'll be fantastic. He said, yeah, but if it fails, my mother won't like it. And I don't mean that in any disrespectful way. The society pressure on not failing here is huge, more than anything I as a British guy would ever worry about. So I think failure is extremely important, but only because you need to avoid it.
So from a sort of more academic, institutionalized point of view, how do you guys manage failure? How do you bring it into the process? What's the exposure mechanism you use?
Yeah, a couple of comments. First, I'm going to answer the question, but I would like to pick up on what Karl just said. So culture is very important, and again, but also change of culture is very possible. We live in a country that was created by entrepreneurs. Most of these people are transformed into large business owners or public servants, or we need to go back to the roots, I guess. And I think, but all this is very recent, it's still there. If you live in London, your family will be happy if you become a lawyer in the city or an investment banker. If you are in Paris, your family will be happy if you are a top manager in a government-owned company. All this culture is very country-specific. But again, in a country like the UAE, we can do miracles in order to switch back to the roots. And I really think this is possible. I think this can be done. So today, astronauts are extremely popular with the youth, right? Every young guy, a young girl would like to be involved in space programs. Rock stars are very popular in the West. So we need to make sure that entrepreneurs become like rock stars or astronauts. So we need to create role models in our schools, in universities, where entrepreneurs, successful local entrepreneurs, becomes a rock stars or yes, astronauts. This on the culture side. On what your question is about is what can we do and in an economic environment. I totally agree with what you're saying. Again, I spent most of my career as a venture capitalist, and all the learning experience is not on the startup. We're seeing like thousands of companies every year. We knew that for a certain reason, some of them would fail because we knew that they were making systematically certain mistakes. But the knowledge was with us, with my team, with investors. We couldn't share this knowledge with the startups. Again, if the startup was not pitching well or the team was not properly designed, we were kicking them out. We're not providing funding to them. But all the knowledge was not with us. Startup factories or venture studios accumulate the knowledge and distribute seamlessly, transversally, horizontally the knowledge among startups. This is something we're doing also in an academic environment. So our cohorts of startups work together. We try to create a common layer of services. There is no point for a startup to having administration, accounting, legal services, or IT services. Totally useless. There is no need to replicate all this stuff. So we try to provide this seamlessly across the board. And this is what a venture studio does, on top of leveraging and distributing this knowledge. So I do think that this kind of model is a model that we should adopt in educational institution. It's a model that reduce the uncertainty, maximize the efficiency of the entire ecosystem, produce more startups, and reduce the risk of each of them. So I'm totally aligned.
In a moment, we're going to go to the audience for some questions, but I'm actually just going to give the mic to Miras because I would love to hear a bit more about your idea that we're all born entrepreneurs. Obviously, with the audience we have here today and our audience online, we've got a particular interest actually in kids and how to, rather than making this a higher education question, Can you tell us a bit about where maybe you've seen some examples of people having the entrepreneurial spirit dampened?
Pardon. Thank you. I really resonate with the both very respected people before me. Regarding my point and how it community killed entrepreneurship, I feel like Dr. Adil gave like perfect answer of how literally just failure is nature of entrepreneurship. Of course, there are hardcore hustlers, people that are just so good at it, they just crush it. They just literally crush it. They're alpha males of like entrepreneurship. They just crush everything. But it's not binary. It's like whole spectrum. So if you look at the spectrum, some are just never intended to be entrepreneur, but they became one. But for all of them, ubiquitously, there was need to be able to fail and not be discouraged by that forever to do anything else in their life. So I believe in a lot of people, just having a family telling them, like, if you fail, don't come back again. Don't come home if you like, don't take this job I helped you get. And like this type of mentality of forcing some trajectory to kids, I believe completely destroys the whole idea of entrepreneurship. Thank you.
So I respect your feedback and the disagreement. I love it. I just want to say one thing, if you'll allow me, and it is linked to the point that I highlighted about role models. You are the typical role model. You are, when my son says to me, I want to go to become an astronaut, that's exactly you. Because there's such a slim chance to become you. It's like becoming another Elon Musk. I don't want people, allow me to give you an example. The percentage of basketball players that make it to the NBA and the Hall of Fame is less than 0.5%. So there's a whole community of basketball players that are just gonna fade away. And that's my concern. I don't want people to be another Elon Musk, because the chances they become that Elon Musk or they become the astronaut is such a slim chance that they are ought, the vast majority are ought to be disappointed. Now, how can we create a system that don't promise that, but they promise a decent living, like a decent average life? We shouldn't even, this is why I'm saying I don't want the super entrepreneurs. I just want entrepreneurial teams that can add value to themselves and society. And their achievements might not be the unicorns, because what are the chances of being unicorn? But can you add value? Today, we are at mass producing employees. Is there a way for us to, at mass, produce entrepreneurial teams that can feed themselves? That is my question. That's the theory that I'm trying to deliver on. And I consistently ask people, look, if you become an Elon Musk, good for you. But don't, and if that is what you want to do, go ahead. But then I want the mass to be able to just feed themselves and add value to society. That's probably where the gap is. You see where I'm coming from? Yeah, that's basically what I'm trying to say.
The joys of having one microphone. So I guess the message there is, even if you're not going to be Ronaldo, there's still benefit in learning how to play football.
Adil, I'm going to push against this. The Dutch always push against a lot, and this is one of the things. It's absolutely important for people to have role models in life. It's very simple. Number one, the risk reward with entrepreneurship, it's challenging. It's not normally when you're going to work for, let's say you're going to work for a bank or you're going to work for a consultancy firm. You know exactly what your trajectory in life will be, and there's a fixed payout that you will get. For entrepreneurship, is not. So the risk of failure is relatively high compared to a normal corporate job. In order to embark on such a journey, you need fire in the belly. How do you get fire in the belly? Reading a book, looking at statistics, going into a venture studio? No. It's number one is experience. Number two is to look up to people. If you look at, for example, we take the NBA basketball players as an example. All these guys wanted to become Michael Jordan. That little bit of hope, we had a professor, Linda Applegate, amazing professor. And she said, guys, hope is not a strategy, but sometimes it's the only thing you have. And specifically when you embark on this journey of entrepreneurship, maybe you don't want to become Elon Musk or any of these role models, but having your own role model, maybe in society. Maybe it's your family who has been very successful. Maybe as an offspring, I want to be the same. Or, for example, I had a chat with Saleh, who joined us as well, about his grandfather, who actually founded the company. It's still something to look up to. This is what he did. This is what he achieved for society. But the moment we institutionalize entrepreneurship, it becomes boring. What we do, we take the angle out of it and we create a new corporate. Look, for example, working for Apple. You think Apple is working like a startup? Absolutely not. You're basically working in a Unilever. It's exactly the same. You think you work in a startup business, but it is not. Everything is sliced and diced till the last thing. If we degrade, sorry for the wording, entrepreneurship to a non-creative process that is institutionalized, created in venture studios, executed based on risk rewards, statistically proven when you will come out and how you will come out, then all the creativity is gone. So then those percentiles, 40, 60, will come true. But if we allow people to become creative, this is my philosophy, and maybe I'm completely off, but if we allow that creativity, there will also be solutions for this 60-40. Maybe it's not at all. Maybe we reinvent working in a different way. Maybe it's not entrepreneurship, maybe it's intrapreneurship. I've seen a lot of people flourishing as entrepreneurs, not as entrepreneurs. They basically work in an organization, they're some sort of co-founder, but they don't have to find a business, they don't have to find the financing. So I think it's shades of gray. And Adil, I'm leaving it with this. We'll talk about this later.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you. So I'm sort of hearing a running tension, probably in the nature of the way in which we set up the question, which is, are entrepreneurs made or born, in terms of the fact that maybe it's somewhere in the middle.
Thank you very much. Very interesting debate. So I'm an entrepreneur myself. I set up a business at the age of about straight after university, and I'm on my third business, been running it for 22 years, now into politics. I'm also on the Oxbridge Society with James. So my question is a little different. I feel, especially in the society in the Middle East, sometimes a sore thumb, stand out like a sore thumb because of the number of females, as we can see on the panels, that are entrepreneurs in the area. So maybe you can shed a little bit of light on that, just so the rest of the 50% of the population can feel heard. And also, as a school, sorry, didn't get your name because I came a little later. As a school, what we can do to encourage more women into entrepreneurship, because it should not be a male-dominated.
Thank you very much. We have actually referred to few studies to realize that the ratio of women or girls that believe that they can change the world in early ages, like primary, is way less than males. Very interesting stat. We don't know if it is society or it has to do with genetics. We don't know. But are we taking action? That's the most important thing. Yes, we are doing 2 or 3 things. We are introducing creative thinking, inclusive of problem finding or opportunity finding thinking from as early as age 4. And we do that in 3 different ways. We run workshops. We are inducing creative thinking in our curriculum. And we are transforming teachers to mentors. How are we doing that? We are running programs, a 1.5-year program with teachers, where they go into venture building, actual venture building, in a program in the school. So the school has actually a venture studio, whereby teachers get prepared academically, and then they get into practice of building companies. And the idea is, whoever succeeds and wants to run a business, great, I have more partners. But whoever wishes to continue and deliver that knowledge into kids actually delivers relevant knowledge that associates with growing the mentality and curiosity of kids towards finding solutions to problems. Basically have the ability to produce products and services that add value to community and themselves.
I think a lot of things depend not only in the Middle East, but in the world around support of women entrepreneurs. And when it comes for investment, for example, the investment rooms, the VCs are full of men employees. So they will not be as lenient towards female a founder. And also they have primitive concerns of that the female is going on maternity leave and her family will become her priority. So these are the excuses that are seen. And also there are a lot of women founders that are working around femtech, for example. And these topics are not understood by men. So, and again, that's why these startups don't get funded. So I think, and again, as we talked about role models, because of these issues, there are not as many women founders. And that's why for women who are aspiring to be entrepreneurs, there are not as many role models. So I think that's the underlying issue.
Yeah, so first of all, on the statistics, in our programs, 60% of the founders are women, are girls. So there is lots of interest in entrepreneurship coming from the female side of academia, and they're really involved. If we look at what's happening in this country, there are lots of female founders, very successful. Mumsword, Sarwa, lots of female founders that are really making it. A comment on what I just heard is that I understand that if you're a successful entrepreneur, is nice to consider yourself as an exception or a Superman or an outlier. But I really do believe that what's happening with entrepreneurship is very similar to what happens to us when we start approaching art as kids. It's free to us when we're kids to draw, to paint, or do whatever else. At a certain moment in time, because this is not conducive to anything good for our society, we stop it. Our parents stop us from doing art. Our parents stop us to encouraging us to be more creative, and we become part of a system that brings to us to the big corporate, that brings to us to standard jobs. I mean, creativity needs to be there, and I do believe that schools needs to do that more and more than what we are doing today. Not just preparing us for being corporate players, for corporate jobs, but also I do believe that entrepreneurship and this kind of attitude toward risk, passion for risk, passion for innovation needs to be instilled from a very young age. I really agree on this point. And again, a very last point. We don't want our kids or our students, I mean, your kids, our students in HTT to become the next Elon Musk. It will never happen. Or maybe there will be one out of thousands every 10 years. But again, there are not just Elon Musks. There are successful restaurant chain owners. There are successful, I don't know what. I mean, there are plenty of traditional businesses. And again, we see it in the current big unicorns being launched. I mean, very few of them are deep tech. Today, Uber, Careem's, Airbnb are simply reshaping of traditional business models where no technology is involved, no science is involved. It's just a new approach to things. And again, these kind of things can be really taught, and we can really instill this passion and this courage for entrepreneurship. Sorry, I've been a bit long.
Hello, my name is Yu Chen. I'm a DBA associate. I'm also AI PhD candidate. So I'm doing AI and computer stuff. So my question about the entrepreneurship would be like, you all have some startups. Do you think about the time is also very important when you're beginning a startup? For example, currently Metaverse, Wall Street, they are very like street. So lots of companies are up because of Metaverse is very popular, so they can get more funds. But Metaverse, like 5 years ago, there's another name called VR AR. 5 years ago, VR AR is also very popular, but after 2 or 3 years, people figure out that VR AR cannot, it's not that good enough. So then people start to lose interest. They are losing in investments. They are even the company bankrupts. Do you think the time is very important, or is something that we think to do begin to stop the thing that we need to consider, or you have another opinions? Thank you.
This is actually a very interesting one. So common wisdom says that you cannot time the market. No matter how much you want it, a lot of smart investors try to time the market, and often they're wrong. I think one of the threats of being an entrepreneur is to create your own hypotheses about what the future will be, instead of just going with the time. Because it's very simple. Somebody starts a sandwich shop here, and 20 other people starts to do the same because they think it's the right time, nobody will succeed, right? So I think timing is not, look, you have to understand that the consumer is right for your product, this 100%. But in the end, most of the successful businesses, and I talk about large scale businesses, not because for me, a grocer is also a brilliant entrepreneur, hardworking from morning till evening. But I talk about the scalable global businesses in entrepreneurship now when we speak about timing, right? It is your own hypothesis on where the market will go and where it will be in 5 years that will create success. So if you look, for example, at EdTech, it's a very interesting one. One of my good friends, he sits here, Miras, he's making now a nice video of me there, is creating a new technology company, specifically focused on children, and it's metaverse based. So it's good for you to ask her basically, did she time this? Or is this just her creation of this is how the future will be? Have your own opinion on this and be willing to go all in for it. No matter if all other people will tell you oh, this is not gonna work. That is all rubbish. You have to follow in that way your own instinct. Otherwise, if you want to time, for example, Rocket Internet is a very good one. They basically used all the business models that were existing and they duplicated them in emerging markets. Very much a timing, a business that worked on timing. Very smart, but it's a different one versus the creative process that you're doing. And I assume you do something in AR, right? Yeah, or AI. Yeah. So it's a very creative thing, which means you have to also create your own time for it and also decide if it's the right time or not. And one more other thing before we end, because I know we're on the clock here, is that I learned from a friend. Initially, I always thought that entrepreneurship is about what do I know? I go in the book, I learn more, I'm smarter than other people. This is not working. Most of the stuff that I got in life and that came on my path as an entrepreneur came because other people were willing to help me. And this sounds maybe very strange, but it is true. All the little opportunities, I remember we were opening shops for our consumer good products. I could not pay listing fees for shops because it runs into the millions of dollars in order to be in a large retailer. One of the founders came to me of this retailer. He had 15,000 stores, and he said, look, I've been in your position 20 years back. I know how shitty it is. Please, my doors are open. Put your product there. So it's not only about brain power. It's not only about reading the books. It's also gathering people around you who are willing to help you. How do you gather them? Help them first. I think that's a very important part. Anyway, I'm going to end this on now.
Thank you very much. I'll do it again. Quickly. Chances that you are going to fail are high. So think about it. Don't gamble. That's the problem with people. You know that 85% of people don't invest their money in anything, sits in the bank. You know why? Because most of them have tried and they failed the first time. That's the statistics. They will fail the first time. But they gambled. They put a lot in one thing. And they said, oh, I failed. It's not for me. I'm not an entrepreneur. It's not in my DNA. I will not do it again. And my money is stuck. You are looking at the metaverse. Metaverse, like in multiple technologies, they think the world is all about that. It's most probably not going to be all about that. It might play a role in the world. But then if that becomes your way of thinking, you're not thinking in a gambler fashion. You are realizing that the metaverse is not going to be the whole world. It's probably a piece of the world. How would you use your time? Because it all boils down to time. Is it the only thing that you are going to do? Many people will say, put everything you have in it. But that's gambling, isn't it? That's the definition of gambling. Can you not put everything in it? Can you use your time on different things? Knowing that most of them will fail. Then how would you use your time?
Thank you. My name is Waidoun. My question is, would you think that driving entrepreneurship is more important or enabling entrepreneurship is more important? Because those are two different things. I want to push people to be entrepreneurs, or I want to build the ground to have a entrepreneurship, I would say society or enablement, right? And I have, sorry, another question. I feel like we have different types of entrepreneurs that we're talking about. We have Karl who says like 3% of people who will strive and build and find the way to do it, right? And we have another type where we have small businesses, people who just want to create something and build a society. Do we have that? Do we have certain types of entrepreneurs where we can, this is entrepreneur A, entrepreneur B and stuff, or what do you think, guys? Thank you.
I've got the microphone. Don't know how I managed to steal that. Let me see if I can have a go at answering some questions. But can I come back to the initial thing? I think I said at the start, I believe it's a spectrum disorder. I think the thing you'd agree with is spectrum. I think come back to what you were saying. I've met many people who are definitely intrapreneurs. They cannot possibly function in an entrepreneurial environment because it's too risky. They need to know they're getting their salary every month. Otherwise, they just can't think straight. But they need the creativity. So if we could carve out organizational structures that would allow intrapreneurs to exist, that would be fantastic. Come back to your point, and I really, again, I love this because I haven't really thought about this. In a society where the demographics are flattening and we've got this burgeoning youth coming forwards, and there's only so many IBMs and Siemens that they can go and work for, they are going to have to work for smaller businesses. But maybe we need somebody in the middle. And you're all Oxford, Cambridge graduates and all really clever, so your Latin and Greek is good. So if we have intrapreneurs and we have entrepreneurs, can we have interpreneurs? They also are prepared to take more risk than intrapreneurs, so they'll go and work in a small company because it's fine, and it's exciting, and it's doing something passionate. They're startup employees. And that comes back to your point. I do believe that we're talking about different things. Schumpeter, who wrote the classic book on entrepreneurism, published in 1938, that entrepreneurs have the will and ability to found a private kingdom. They are Elon Musk. Entrepreneurs on the right of my spectrum are barely functional as social beings. I've met a few of them. I'm not that far. I've met some of these guys, and they cannot look you in the eye. They cannot have a serious conversation with you. Most of them have some sort of other spectrum disorder like autism or something. They are incredible human beings, but they don't function normally. And I think we don't need too many of those people, and I don't think there are that many of those people. What we need, if we're going to have this demographic and flatten it out, is to have more people that are happy and comfortable from both societal pressures, from family pressure, from the amount of money they can earn, to work in these smaller environments. So as you say, these are small company employees. These are people who love the idea of working in an environment where there is an entrepreneur, but they also know they've got a little bit more risk and a little bit more pride in what they're doing, and they know that they're part and parcel of the whole thing.
So what are the things you're thinking about mental health when you're driving or enabling entrepreneurship?
12 to 18% of a classroom, a normal classroom in any school, have students with minor special educational needs that are predominantly psychological. This is how, amongst this 12 to 18%, you get him. Because brains are not the same. We are not wired as people. There's no cable between my brain and your brain. I don't know how you think. I don't know if this is blue to you, the same blue is to me. We call it blue, but is this the same blue? We don't know. We will never know. That's the thing. So The subject of mental well-being, the subject of handling psychology is very dear to my heart, and I have big plans in order, for it. This school has a well-being and excellence center in an effort for us to understand our students deeply and be able to support them more and more and get more out of them. This is why we have academies, sports academies. We have Real Madrid running the football. We have Speedo running the swimming. We have art academies. We have ballet academies. Because we think we can get more from our people, especially the ones that require special attention. Amongst them, we are going to find stars, and we think we would love to equip ourselves in order to do. The second element is, how do I gauge quality of life? See, this is a question that none of you, or most of you, have never even questioned yourself. How can I gauge my quality of life? What is the definition of a good life? The reality is, good life sits in your brain. It's the mix of hormones and enzymes, the cocktail in your brain at any point in time. If you know that, and you know what triggers the good hormones and untriggers the hormones you don't want, there's no bad hormones. There's just hormones that you want most of your time and hormones that you do not want most of your time. If you are able to do this, how would you trigger that? Is that going to give you the perception of a better life, a more peaceful life? That science is now, it's at its infancy now. This is now becoming more common knowledge, and I hope that we play a role in doing so. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm sorry that we're out of time, and apologies that we've run over, but it's clear that we could have stayed talking a lot longer. I made some notes trying to make sense of all of the different things, but I think for me, the big takeaway is that maybe the goal is not to be an entrepreneur per se, but we've all got something to learn from entrepreneurship, and that actually we should maybe sort of avoid our obsession with superstars, but all get involved and both learn and contribute something to solving problems. So at the very basic level, problem solving is something that we've tried to do today. Thank you everyone for attending. I'm sure that every panelist here is still bursting with things to say and do. So please do network, enjoy your time here, and thank you very much to everyone at Citizen School for hosting us. Thank you.